The elevator doors groaned shut behind Ethan, sealing him in a small, rattling metal box that stank of stale oil and ozone. The violent descent through the shaft ended with a bone-jarring thud. Silence. Then, with a reluctant hiss, the doors scraped open. Level Zero's oppressive yellow fluorescence was gone, replaced by a cavernous gloom. Ethan stepped out onto cracked, greasy concrete. The air was thick with the smell of machine oil, damp rust, and something vaguely chemical. The buzzing hum of Level Zero was now a discordant orchestra, the deep thrum of unseen generators, the high-pitched whine of faulty wiring, the rhythmic drip-drip-drip of condensation, falling from overhead pipes onto metal surfaces. The ceiling, lost in shadow, was a tangled jungle of thick conduits, ductwork, and pipes, some dripping clear water, others leaking viscous, dark fluids that pooled on the floor. Walls were rough, unpainted concrete blocks, stained with rust, trails and patches of black mold. Doors were heavy, industrial metal, many dented or hanging off their hinges, revealing dark storage rooms or more corridors. The vast space stretched out like a decaying factory basement. Forklifts sat abandoned, tires flat, crates some broken. Open to spill packing peanuts or unidentifiable machine parts littered the floor. Pallet racks towered precariously, stacked with dusty, shrouded shapes. Dim, bare bulbs hung from frayed cords at irregular intervals, casting weak pools of jaundiced light that made the surrounding shadows seem deeper, more menacing. Distant, flickering fluorescence created unsettling strobe effects down long corridors. Of shelving, Ethan moved cautiously, senses straining. The concrete floor was treacherous, slick with oil and patches, littered with discarded bolts and metal shavings. He picked his way around a large puddle of murky water reflecting the flickering lights above. The air felt cooler than Level Zero, but damp and heavy. He checked a partially open metal door. Inside was a small room filled with dusty filing cabinets and a broken desk. Nothing useful. He found another room stacked floor-tissling with moldering cardboard boxes. The smell of decay was overwhelming. He needed a plan. Water was his immediate concern. The 5 bottles of almond water wouldn't last long. He scanned the environment. Dripping pipes. Some dripped clear liquid. He approached a steady drip falling from a corroded pipe joint overhead. Cupping his hands, he caught a few drops. It tasted metallic and stale, but clean enough. He drank sparingly, refilled his hands, and drank again, the cold water a small relief. He spotted a discarded, dented metal canteen near a pile of rags. It was grimy, but intact. He rinsed it hastily under another dripping pipe and filled it, securing it to his belt loop with a frayed piece of electrical cord he found. Exploring deeper, the industrial maze seemed endless. He passed massive boilers, silent and cold. There, surfaces peeling and rusted. He ducked under low-hanging pipes that radiated uncomfortable heat. The constant mechanical thrumming seemed to vibrate up through the soles of his thin socks. He found a section where the lights were slightly brighter, revealing faded safety signs peeling off the walls. Caution: high voltage, nitrogen monoxide, unauthorized personnel. He avoided areas where thick cables snaked across the floor, some humming faintly. He rounded a corner stacked high with wooden pallets and froze. Movement, not distant, but close. A low, wet clicking sound, like stones being knocked together in a throat. He pressed himself flat against the cold concrete wall, heart pounding. Peering around the edge of the pallets, he saw it. A creature, roughly humanoid but utterly wrong, shambled across an open space about 20 yards away. Its skin was a pallid, rubbery gray, stretched tight over an emaciated frame. Its head was featureless except for 2 deep black pits where eyes should have been, and a lipless slit of a mouth that hung slightly open, emitting the wet clicking sound. It moved with a slow, jerky gait, dragging one foot slightly, unfaxing. Ethan remembered the term, the description, chillingly accurate. It paused, its head tilting slowly, unnaturally, as if sniffing the air. Ethan held his breath, not daring to move a muscle, but after an agonizing moment, it shuffled off down a side corridor. The clicking, fading dot, Ethan waited a full minute before moving again, choosing a different path. He found a large storage closet, the door ajar. Inside, stacked on metal shelves, were rows of identical, unmarked cans. He pried one open with his pocket knife. Inside was a thick beige paste. It smelled faintly nutty, like stale peanut butter, royal rations. He dipped a finger in, tasting cautiously. It was bland, slightly chalky, but edible. He stuffed 3 cans into his pockets. Precious calories. He was examining a large map bolted to a wall, mostly obscured by grime and rust, showing incomprehensible sections labeled Sector Gamma when the lights died. It wasn't a flicker. It was total, instantaneous darkness. The humming generators, the whining wires, they fell silent too. Utter, suffocating blackness and silence crashed down. Ethan froze, blind and deafened by the sudden absence. The darkness felt thick, oily, pressing in on him. Then the sounds began. Not the industrial sounds, new sounds, soft, wet slithering nearby, like something heavy dragging across the concrete. A sharp tap high up on the pipes, moving fast. And worst of all, a low, guttural chittering, seeming to come from multiple directions at once. Ethan fumbled for his flashlight, hands shaking. He clicked it on. The beam cut through the blackness, a fragile cone of light. It illuminated swirling dust motes and the greasy concrete floor directly in front of him. He swept the beam left. Something stared back. 10 feet away, hovering just at the edge of the light, was a face. But it was stretched into an impossibly wide radius grin, revealing rows of needle-sharp glistening. Its skin was pitch black, absorbing the light around it, making the grin seem to float disembodied in the darkness. Where eyes should have been were only deep, empty sockets radiating pure malice. A smiler, it didn't move. It just hung there, grinning its horrific grin, frozen at the edge of the light beam. Panic seized Ethan. He swung the flashlight beam wildly away from it, towards the source of the slithering sound. The light caught movement, something large, slug-like, and glistening with dark mucus retracting into a shadowed alcove beneath a boiler. A duller? He didn't wait to find out. He ran. Blindly at first, stumbling over unseen debris, the flashlight beam jerking erratically. The chittering intensified, seeming to follow him. He heard the tap speeding up overhead, keeping pace. He didn't look back. He charged down a narrow corridor formed by towering racks of pallets. The darkness was absolute. Beyond his jostling light beam, something heavy brushed against a stack of crates to his right with a wooden thud. He veered left. His light caught a flash of movement low to the ground, small, skittering shapes with too many legs vanishing. Into the gloom. Hounds. He ran faster, lungs burning. The air grew hotter, damper. The smell of rust and oil was joined by a new, oppressive scent. Steam and wet concrete. He burst out of the pallet maze into a slightly more open area dominated by massive, hissing pipes. Condensation rained down here, forming puddles on the uneven floor. The oppressive heat was intense. He risked a glance back with the flashlight. The beam swept across the corridor he'd emerged from. For a split second, it illuminated the smiler. Its grotesque grin now only yards behind him, drifting silently forward. Further back, the glistening bulk of the dollar oozed into view. Ethan sprinted forward, slipping on the wet concrete. He scrambled. Up, the flashlight beam bouncing off the huge dripping pipes. He spotted an opening. Not a door, but a ragged hole in the concrete wall where pipes snaked through, leaking thick steam. It looked like maintenance access. Beyond it, the darkness seemed even deeper, the air shimmering with heat haze. It was a gamble. Stay in level 1 with the smiler gaining and the duller blocking his retreat, or plunge into the unknown beyond the hole. The chittering sounded terrifyingly close. He could almost feel the cold malice radiating from the smiler's empty sockets. He didn't hesitate. Ducking low to avoid a scalding jet of steam venting from a cracked pipe joint, Ethan scrambled through the ragged hole in the wall. The heat intensified immediately, hitting him like a physical blow. The roar of rushing water and hissing steam filled his ears, drowning out the sounds of pursuit. He stumbled forward into the choking, humid darkness, leaving the silent hunters and the oppressive industrial decay of level 1 behind. The flashlight beam cutting through swirling steam revealed only more pipes, dripping condensation, and a steep metal-grated staircase leading down into a deeper, hotter gloom.